Subscribe to our channel, press the bell icon and never miss an update from Latestly.
I think one of the things we've recognized with this outbreak, it's not typical. We're seeing cases, as you say, among men who identify as gay, bisexual, or from other groups of men who have sex with men in several countries, often linked to travel, or recent travel. And it seems clear, as Rosamond was saying, that this is linked to close contact. So this could be through social contact, possibly through sexual contact, which of course is close contact. We're still in the early days of this outbreak, so there's a lot we're still learning. But the communities themselves are clearly, number one, concerned and really keen on getting accurate information to help them understand risk and how they can manage the risk. And number two, they're really keen to make sure that information is proportionate and fair, and there's a lot of stigma and discrimination that surrounds many diseases. And I think the key thing we need to look out for is, as WHO, to work with our partners in communities and elsewhere to make sure that the messaging is correct. So while, for example, we're seeing, some cases amongst men who have sex with men, this is not a gay disease, as some people in social media have attempted to label it. That's just not the case. Anybody can contract monkeypox through close contact. We know as well in WHO that when we want to be responsive to an emergency or to an outbreak, in addition to really working with the experts, tracking the epidemiology, we need to work with communities really from the beginning. And so today we convened an initial meeting of members from the affected communities from all WHO regions, including some representatives from Nigeria, so from endemic settings as well as outbreak settings. And it was a fascinating and timely conversation. We had really sound advice shared, which it can be equally as helpful to us in managing and leading in the response as the science and the data. So we need to really bring the community perspectives together with the science. It's early days. We've got goodwill from the communities. They want to work with us and understand how best this can be contained.
This is an evolving situation, and so what we are learning from countries that have not typically had cases before, these are cases which are having outbreaks now. Cases are being identified in certain communities now, with focusing on the surveillance in communities of men having sex with men. But as surveillance expands, we expect that we will see more cases. And I don't know contextually wise if we've actually said yet so far what we are actually seeing, because it's very different than COVID, where we see. Your question was to contextualize this and see where we are. So let me start with the context first, and then I'll go into the specifics of the question. So as Rosamond described, and as you've described, Nika, we're seeing not typical patterns of monkeypox transmission. And as Rosamond has said, we've been aware of this virus for 40 years. So in countries where we are seeing new cases that have not experienced cases before, surveillance has really focused on particular populations so far. And right now we are describing what we are seeing. And what we are seeing are cases being detected in the communities of men having sex with men, who identify as having sex with men. But as surveillance expands, we expect that more cases will be seen. But we do need to put this into context because it's not COVID. So we have so far seen, and I don't actually have the exact numbers at hand because we're learning more even as we sit here, but we're talking about less than about 200 cases of confirmed and suspected cases so far. So that may change over time. So this is really important why we have surveillance and why we have raised an alert to say, okay, we need to be on the lookout for this in countries that don't typically experience monkeypox. So we've been working with countries, we've been working with ministries of health to expand surveillance, to look for people who have rash, so dermatology clinics, emergency departments, infectious disease clinics, sexual health clinics, so that we really understand the extent of infection. But your question was, who's at risk? So as Rosamond has explained, transmission is really happening from close physical contact, skin to skin contact. So it's quite different than COVID in that sense. So we are looking for people who have rash, so we can help them first and foremost to understand what their risk is. And we should say that most of the people who have been identified so far have had more mild disease, or let's say not severe disease. But anyone they come in contact with needs to be informed so that we can prevent onward spread. And the thing I just want to say here is that this is a containable situation. Particularly in the countries like where we are seeing these outbreaks that are happening across Europe, in North America as well. But we can't take our eye off the ball of what's happening in Africa as well, in endemic countries. So this gives us an opportunity to talk about what monkeypox is, what it isn't, so you can be very well informed.
We do have ongoing working relationships with the Ministries of Health and the laboratories in the African region. We have several countries that we work with very closely because they have been reporting monkeypox over the last few years. These include Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Central African Republic, and Cameroon. This is where we're seeing cases being reported now, and so we're working very closely with these countries to help respond and to help try and ascertain why this virus is now becoming more frequently reported, because it is well known to be, as you said, a zoonotic disease. So it is primarily in the animal kingdom, in forested areas. Now we're seeing it more in urban areas, and this week we're seeing it for the first time around the world.